There is a specific kind of exhaustion that comes from trying really hard and still going nowhere. You know what your goals are, and also you are not confused about what you want. You might have read the books, you watch self-help videos, you have the notes app full of things you're going to do differently starting this week. And for a few days, you actually do them differently. You wake up earlier, you work harder, you stay more focused, and then life gets busy, or you have one bad day and the whole thing collapses. And then you start again, and then it collapses again. And you keep repeating this cycle of effort and collapse, and somewhere underneath all of it, a quiet question starts forming. Why is this so much harder for me than it seems to be for other people? The answer is not that you lack discipline. The answer is that you are relying on effort where you should be building a system. And those two things produce completely different results over time because they operate on completely different mechanisms. Effort is something you have to generate fresh every single day. A system generates results whether you feel like it or not. So if you really want to change, just give me 10 minutes of your life, only 10 minutes. And if you can't stay focused for 10 minutes, it's better you skip this video right now. No hard feelings, but if you're still here, it means you're serious. So listen carefully, because what I'm about to share will either push you to change or make you realize you're not ready yet. So what's the difference between goals and systems? Most people organize their lives around goals. They decide what they want to achieve and then try to work toward it. And goals are not useless, you need a direction. But goals alone have a fundamental problem that becomes very clear once you understand it. A goal is a destination. It tells you where you want to end up, but it says nothing about what you are going to do on the Tuesday morning in week 3 when motivation has completely disappeared. And there are 20 other things competing for your attention. Goals describe an outcome. They do not create the conditions that produce the outcome. And those conditions are everything. Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert, wrote about this distinction in his book, How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big. He argued that systems beat goals almost every time, not because goals are wrong, but because a system is something you do every day that increases your odds of success regardless of how you feel on any given day. A goal is something you either hit or miss. A system is something you either follow or don't, and following it consistently is within your control in a way that outcomes never fully are. So what a system actually is, a system is not a complicated thing, it is just a set of specific behaviors that happen at specific times in a specific sequence without requiring a fresh decision every day. The reason this matters so much is decision fatigue, which is a well-documented psychological phenomenon where the quality of your decisions deteriorates the more decisions you have to make throughout a day. Every morning you spend deciding whether to exercise, when to work, what to work on, and how long to do it for, is a morning where your best cognitive energy is going toward logistics rather than actual work. A system removes those decisions entirely. The exercise happens at the same time every day, the work block starts at the same time, the phone goes away at the same time. None of it requires a decision because it has already been decided, it just happens. Benjamin Franklin, who managed to be a scientist, a writer, a diplomat, a businessman, and a founding father simultaneously, ran his entire life on a system he designed and followed with remarkable consistency. He had a fixed structure for every part of his day, from the question he asked himself every morning, what good shall I do today, to the review he conducted every evening, what good have I done today. He tracked 13 personal virtues in a small notebook and reviewed his adherence to them weekly. His output over a lifetime was extraordinary, not because he was extraordinarily talented, but because he ran on a system that made productive behavior the default rather than the exception. Okay, so how to build a daily system that runs on autopilot. The most important principle in building a system that actually works is that it has to be designed for your worst days, because most people design their ideal routine when they are feeling motivated and energized, which means they design something they can only maintain when conditions are already good. But the moment conditions deteriorate, I mean like a bad night's sleep, a stressful week, unexpected setback, the whole structure collapses because it was never built to survive those conditions. So a real system is built with the assumption that many days will be difficult, motivation will frequently be low, and life will regularly get in the way. It has to work under those conditions, or it does not really work at all. So here is what that looks like practically. Your system needs 3 things. First one, it needs anchor habits, 2 or 3 non-negotiable behaviors that happen every single day, regardless of circumstances, and that serve as the foundation everything else is built on. Second one, it needs a clear time structure, specific blocks of your day dedicated to specific types of work, so that the question of what to do next never has to be answered from scratch. And last but not the least, it needs a reset mechanism, A simple way to restart after a bad day or broken streak without losing the whole system because of one disruption. The anchor habits are the most important element. James Clear writes in Atomic Habits about the concept of habit stacking, which is attaching a new behavior to an existing one so that the existing habit becomes the trigger for the new one. You already make coffee every morning. Stack 5 minutes of planning your 3 most important tasks onto that. You already have a lunch break. Stack 20 minutes of reading onto the middle of it. You already brush your teeth at night. Stack a brief review of whether your 3 tasks got done onto that. None of these additions are dramatic, but they attach new productive behaviors to existing ones so solidly that over time the new behaviors feel as automatic as the old ones. Time and energy management within a system. A system that ignores your energy levels is going to fail regardless of how well structured it is, because the same 2 hours of work done at the wrong time of day produces significantly less than the same 2 hours done at the right time. Most people have a peak cognitive window of roughly 2 to 4 hours somewhere in the first half of their day, though this varies individually. During this window, your ability to think clearly, make good decisions, and do genuinely difficult work is at its highest. Outside of this window, particularly in the early afternoon, cognitive performance dips measurably, and this is not weakness, it's simple biology. The system implication is straightforward. Your most important, most cognitively demanding work goes inside your peak window, protected by every reasonable means from interruption and distraction. Your administrative tasks, emails, routine work, and less demanding activities go outside of it. Most people do this completely backwards. They start the day by clearing their inbox and handling easy tasks, burning through their peak cognitive hours on low-value work, and then attempting their most important work in the afternoon when their capacity is significantly diminished. Restructuring even 1 week around this principle will produce a visible difference in the quality and quantity of your output, because it is not about working more hours, it's about doing the right work in the right window. Now, I want to say something really important, so pay close attention. This is the part that most productivity content completely misses, and it is arguably the most important part. When you follow a system consistently over time, something happens that goes beyond the outputs the system produces. The system starts to change your identity, not in a vague self-help way, but in a very concrete way that James Clear describes precisely in Atomic Habits. Every time you act in accordance with your system, you cast a vote for the kind of person you are. Enough votes in the same direction and your self-concept shifts. You stop being someone who is trying to be disciplined and start being someone who is disciplined. You stop being someone who is trying to build a business and start being someone who builds things. And identity is the most powerful driver of behavior that exists, because it is far easier to maintain behavior that is consistent with who you believe yourself to be than to force behavior that contradicts your self-image. This is why the early weeks of a system matter so much, even when the external results are minimal. You are not just building outputs, you are building evidence about who you are, and that evidence compounds in exactly the same way that financial investment compounds, slowly and invisibly at first, and then in ways that become impossible to ignore. Now, what I want you to do right now is define your 3 anchor habits, the 3 behaviors that, if you did them every single day for the next 90 days, would move your life forward more than anything else. Make them specific, make them small enough to survive your worst days, and attach them to existing things in your day so they do not require a separate decision to initiate. Then protect your peak cognitive window for your most important work. Every day, before you open your messages or your email or your social media, do the most important thing first. Then review at the end of each week, not to judge yourself, but to understand what worked and what did not, and to adjust accordingly. That is a system, and it's not that complicated or dramatic, but if you follow it consistently, you will produce results that no amount of motivation or effort alone ever reliably does. The people who seem to make success look effortless are almost never more talented than you. They just built something that runs whether they feel like it or not. Build a system, let it run, get out of the way.